sounds on. Hi Lauren, hi Tina, hi JB. You don't like coffee? Hello everybody that's on since I was just on. Hi Mrs Naylor. Hi Mr Parker. There's a treat. No. Camera shy today. Hi Blaine. Hi Mum. I'm just going to turn this round a little bit. I forgot to charge my iPad, so I've had to prop it up because it's plugged in. Oh, hi Maria. Jack's here with his rich teas. Well done, Jack. Hi Evelyn. Hi Tom. Hi Mrs Henderson. Oh, that's a bit better. Balanced. Come and get it. Oh, Maria, you've been painting on a canvas. I've been painting today, Maria. I'd show you if my iPad wasn't balanced so precariously. I'll show you next time. I've been doing a paint by number today that I had for Christmas. It's a New York scene and it's really good. Send me a picture of what you're painting, Maria. I'd love to see it. Who else? Oh, Emily's on. Hi, Em. And Brooke, you're all wrapped up in a blanket. Lovely. Caris is on. Hi, Caris. Tom, planting strawberries. Lovely. I can't wait to hear the next bit of the book. I've been thinking about it since we read last night. Hi, Lucas. And these are Dentabites, so technically it's toothpaste, not treats, so he can have more than normal. Hi, Mrs. Breen. Thank you. I am well, Mrs. Breen. I hope you are as well. Oh, hi, Alf. Hope you're all right. I feel like it's been ages since I saw you, Alfie. Mum says they're treats. Yeah, but they're healthy treats. Yeah, it does say they're treats. Oh, but it does say that they can have up to 17 a day. He hasn't had 17. These have been open for ages. And they help look after your cat's teeth. Because last time we went to the vet did say that we should start brushing his, like these ones, the ones really near the back. So, treats, but not really treats. A bit like vegetable crisps. They're not really crisps because they're vegetables. Hi, Freddie. Hi, Steph. Hi, Imi. Yeah, I've had a really nice day, thank you, Imi. I've been doing some painting and then I went for a walk in the woods and not much else really. I did some school bits this morning. I hope you've had a nice day too. Okay, let's make a start. It's 5 past now. So we ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, didn't we, like the other chapters? Oh, that was it. So they'd gone off with the bandits who wanted Ananda, didn't they? And they wanted Ananda for Senna, who is the evil king's brother, who is plotting to take over Serendib. And then they went with the bandits and Chaya had a plan, and she said at the end, any enemy of the king is a best friend to us. So she's obviously going to try and persuade these bandits and Senna, the king's half-brother, she's obviously going to try and persuade them to sort of gang up with Chaya and Neil and Nawa in the hope that they can go back to their village, because Neil had heard, hadn't he, that all the villagers were being tortured and terrorised to try and find out what had happened to Chaya and him and Neil, and people were really angry with them because they brought shame upon the village and stuff like that. So yeah, let's see how they're going to try and befriend these bandits and Senna, the king's brother. Just see who else is on. Amy, Jess and Katie, hi girls. Oh, Amy, you've been on a walk in the woods as well. Good. Okay, chapter 31. Come on, said Chaya, leading Ananda towards the men. We're going to join the bandits. Join them, said Nawa. Are you crazy? What are you talking about? Neil hurried up behind Chaya. I like what you're thinking, but why would they want to help us? We have to make them an offer that's so good they can't refuse it. Gamage looked up as they approached. Ah, ready to leave at last. He pointed behind him. Settle the elephant by the tree. Would you like some food before you go? Thank you, that'd be good, said Chaya. She came up and sat down on the platform with Nawa. Gamage shouted something at a man inside one of the huts, and he came out bringing bowls of manioc and wood apples that he set down in front of them. Chaya broke the shell and dug into a wood apple hungrily. So you steal for a living, she said to Gamage. He looked amused. You could say that. And you're loyal to Senna? I see the boy has updated you very quickly. Yes. do you win supporters for him? Most people hate the king, so it's not that difficult, said Gamage. But even so, it's harder than you'd think. We employ some less than noble tactics sometimes. So that means that they sometimes do things to get supporters that maybe aren't very nice things. Like what? Said Naua. Gamage shrugged. We loot villages to make the people feel unsafe. It turns them against the king because he's supposed to look after them. That way they're more open to someone new stepping in. Wow. So they go and steal from villages and terrorise villages so that people think the king is not protecting them. And then they... Oh, that's quite manipulative. Senna pays you to do these things. Chaya took a swig of water from a clay pitcher. I thought he was a good person. I don't think he knows everything we do. What matters is winning supporters and getting rid of the king. Very few people have ever even seen Senna. He has trusted advisors who handle everything. Well, that's all very interesting, said Chaya. She cleared her throat. We have an offer for you. Gamage snorted. An offer of what? We weren't asking nicely for the elephant. We would have taken it anyway. Oh. Are you feeling a bit left out? Don't knock the iPad off, please. We would have taken it anyway, said Gamage. We want to join you. Gamage laughed outright at that. Why would we want you? I think we'd be a big asset to you. We can directly help Senna in his victory. Gamage stared at Chaya. Confident child, aren't you? I don't like this kind of grand talk. I think you should clear out now. We can help, insisted Chaya. You do know what we did, right? We may be children, but do you know anyone else who would steal the Queen's jewels from a place as heavily guarded as the royal palace? Someone who walked right into the Queen's quarters? Gamage grinned and shook his head, but she could tell he was impressed. And got one of the king's prisoners out of jail, said Neil. Actually, all of them if we're counting, said Chaya. Gamage inclined his head, amused, as if conceding a point. And stole the king's elephant, said Naua, catching on. All right. But why would you want to help us? We want to save our people in Nerissa. Gamage snorted. Your people hate you. You're not going to get any heroes welcome there. We don't care about that, said Chaya. Our people have suffered too long at the king's hands. Think about it. Nerissa is right on the doorstep of the king's city, and this is the perfect time to strike. I don't make those decisions, girl, said Gamage. We take our orders from Prince Senna. Then take us to meet Senna and we can discuss this with him ourselves. Gamage threw back his head and laughed. He was still shaking with mirth when he spoke. Like I said, confident child, aren't you? You can join us if you like. Your skills might be useful to us. But if you think that Prince Senna will be interested in any of you or your grand ideas, you can forget that right now. Naua put down her plate and leaned in towards Gamage. Without the support of the surrounding villages like Nerissa, Senna can never succeed. Imagine what he could do if all the men and women joined him as he marched in, and support for the king right now is the lowest it's ever been. If Senna misses this opportunity, another one might not come for a very long time. Chaya sat back casually. And you could be the one who spotted this chance. I'm sure Senna would be very grateful. Gamage stared at the three of them, as if trying to figure out what to make of them. Finally, he relented. I'll pass the message on to those who give me orders. Ooh, so he's listening. They're going to join him. Oh, Lizzie, you're a bit late. You haven't missed much at all, other than Chaya and Naua and Neil trying to persuade Gamage for them to gang up with them, basically, and go and see the prince, that's all. Mrs. Williams is on. Hi, Mrs. Williams. Olivia, all crisps are vegetables. Yeah, you're right there. But potatoes don't count as one of your 5 a day, do they? Even though they're vegetables. But I've heard similar things said about wine and grapes, that technically it could be a 5 a day. Toby's on as well. Hi, Tobes. Thank you for that recommendation. I'll add that to the list. Chapter 32. The children spent the next day with the bandits, not hearing anything back about their proposal. Do you think it'll work? Chaya looked through the slatted window at the men ambling to and fro outside. Do you think Gamage even passed on the message? It's been a whole day. They were in their hut, a single room with a few threadbare mats rolled up on one side of the unswept floor and a shuttered window next to the door. Gamage doesn't have access to Senna, said Neil. It has to go through others and reach him wherever he is. Senna must know about us if he knew about Ananda. Nawa was sitting on the pile of mats, her chin on her knees and hugging her legs. And what we said about the timing makes complete sense. He'd be a fool not to even consider it. We're running out of time, said Chaya. What would the king do with father? How long can we wait for Senna to respond? Nawa picked at a stray thread on the mat beside her. Aren't you too afraid? This is so much bigger than I thought it would be. This is an actual war with the king. It was going to happen anyway, said Chaya. With a king like ours, and with Senna back to stake his claim. But our people need it right now. But what if the villagers are hostile, said Nawa. They've suffered so much because of us. Why would they be jumping at a war with the king? We just have to convince them, said Neil. There's no turning back now. Gamage summoned them later that evening. The men were gathered on the platform around a blazing fire over which fish hung to roast. Come, come, have a bit of dinner with us, said Gamage when he saw them. Sit down. He gestured at some men sitting nearby as if he was sweeping rubbish away with a broom as they moved off to the side. Had a good rest? Yes, thank you, said Neil, sitting down. The air was warm and smoky. Pots of toddy were being carried in, and the men were getting slightly raucous. In the background, Ananda's shape loomed through the darkness, and smoke still tethered under the tree. So tell me about home, said Gamage, as a man came up with a wooden tray of whole roasted fish. You all live in Narissa? Neil and I do. Chaya took one of the proffered tray. Nawa lives in the king's city itself. And you have knowledge of the palace? Of course. Chaya bit into the fish. These were soft and spicy, unlike the ones they'd burnt at the river. Not to blow our own conch shell, but we did get in there twice. Once to the Queen's quarters and once to the underground prison complex. We work as a team. We each have our, talents. I see. Gamage nodded and turned to Neil. And you must be the mastermind. Tell me, boy, how did you do it? Chaya bristled. They've just assumed that Neil's in charge because he's the boy. I wasn't. I mean, Neil cleared his throat. It just happened. Gamage shook his head. You don't want to part with your secrets, I see. But it's okay. I have some news for you. Around them the men talked and laughed and munched their food, their faces tinged orange in the firelight. A man came round at the end with a large pot of buffalo curd that everyone dug into with glee. What news? Chaya put down her tin plate, hardly daring to hope. You've got your wish. Prince Senna wants to see you. Chapter 33. The next day they set out early, walking briskly through the jungle with Gamage. He seemed to know his way very well, and by midday they'd come to the edge of the forest where a cart was waiting. Chaya hoisted herself up after the others into the cart. This is nice. I thought we were going to walk all the way. Prince Senna is living with a friend of his family, said Gamage, sitting opposite them. Someone close to his mother's side who's always been loyal to them. They didn't talk much after that, with Gamage sitting beside them. It was refreshing being out in open country after being in the jungle so long, the blue sky endless above them. The cart trundled down the coastal road, coconut trees flashing past as they drew on towards Senna. They drove through a pair of gates down a curving drive and stopped at a large, many-gabled house with a latticed porch and wide veranda. A man was standing outside, immaculate, in starched clothes and slicked hair and moustache. I'm Mangala, he said to them. Please go and sit down. I'll be with you in a minute. Chaya and Nawa followed Neil inside, while Mangala stayed back and had a few words with Gamage. All the doors into the house from the veranda were thrown wide open against the walls, and the place was bright and airy, even grander than Noah's, with very high ceilings and plants flowing here and there through railings and winding around posts. "This is nice," said Chaya, sitting on the polished railing seat of the veranda and leaning out. "Somehow I thought Senna would be locked away somewhere hidden." They watched the cart roll away down the gravel drive as Gamage left. Mangala nodded at them as he walked in and showed them to a carved settee. It felt strange to be sitting on proper seats and having cups of coriander tea served to them on silver trays. "I hope you had a comfortable ride," said Mangala. "You can have some rest before lunch." "Can we have a bath too?" said Noah. "Please." "Of course." "When do we meet Senna?" said Chaya. "We'd like to speak to him as soon as possible." "I understand," said Mangala. "You will meet this evening after you've washed and eaten. I should let you know. He might not be what you're expecting." "What do you mean?" said Neil. Chaya exchanged a glance with Neil. Gamage hadn't seen Senna either. He said very few people had. What was Mangala saying? She didn't care if he had two heads, but as long as he wasn't like the king. But Mangala shook his head mysteriously and even looked amused. "You'll find out." Ooh, that's a good end to the chapter. I wonder what that means then. What might it be if Prince Senna I know what I think. Just have a little prediction in your head of what you think is going to be why Mangala has said that Senna might not be what they're expecting. Just have a think what that might mean. And then make a prediction in your head and then we'll see if anyone's got it right. Oh, Miss Sherry's on. Hi, Miss Sherry. Yeah, I've definitely made a prediction about what I think about Senna. I'm going to write it down, actually, and then we'll see if I'm right. No, I don't have a pen. I can't bother. Ooh! Chapter 34. "What do you think he meant?" said Chaya, tucking into her rice and shredded spinach curry. They were eating at a small table near the kitchen, just the three of them, and the table was full of food. Mangala was presumably dining elsewhere in his house with Senna. "Not sure," said Neil, eating ravenously. "Should we be worried?" Noah, looking fresh and clean once again, spooned some long beans onto her plate. He looked amused. Maybe he was joking. "He doesn't seem like the joking type," said Chaya. "Let's not set too much store by Senna." Neil pushed the dial towards Noah, who was reaching for it. "If he doesn't want us to do this, we'll have to try something else. Go back to Nerissa, maybe, to help them somehow." "It's going to be hard to defend ourselves against the king," said Chaya. "It would be so much easier with Senna and his army of supporters on our side." "The fact that we're here means he's interested," said Noah. "Let's just see what he says." Chaya poured herself a glass of king coconut water and took a sip. Ah, that was delicious. Mangala peeked into the room and tapped on the side of the door. "All finished here? If you're ready, Senna will see you now." Are you excited? "Yes, coming," said Chaya. They scrambled up quickly and followed him through the living room to another wing of the house. At last. Remember, children, this is the true monarch of Serendib, who will, with the help of the people, take the throne soon. Be respectful all the time, even if... Mangala hesitated. "He doesn't demand it." Mangala stopped at a pair of double doors and knocked softly before it was opened by a servant inside. Mangala gestured them to go in and stood with his back against the door. The children entered a large square room with arched windows along one side, overlooking a grassy courtyard fringed with anthuriums. An open-fronted cabinet stood opposite, filled with brassy ornaments. And there, standing in front of it, was the soon-to-be ruler of their island. Chaya gawped and heard the sharp intake of breath from Noah next to her. Where the king was tall and muscular and brown, Senna was lightly built, slim and darker skinned, but that wasn't the only thing. Serendib's new monarch wasn't the king's half-brother at all. It was the king's half-sister. That's what I thought. That was the prediction that I made. Senna is a princess, not a prince. Amazing. And I'll tell you why I thought that, because it was obviously something that was going to be a shock, and they were calling them Prince Senna. And in that bit where Mangala said he might not be what you're expecting, Mangala doesn't refer to Senna as Prince Senna. He just says Senna, whereas until then they were calling him Prince Senna. The king's half-sister. Did anybody else think the same thing? I haven't seen any comments for ages. I think they're just a bit slow. Well done if you made that prediction as well. Chapter 35. Thank you for coming to see me, said Senna. You're welcome, said Chaya. For once she was speechless. I've been hearing about your exploits ever since the jewel theft. Senna laughed, and her tiny bell-like earrings shook. She wore cowled trousers and a fitted bodice, and her voice sounded vaguely foreign. As if reading Chaya's mind, she said, I've been away a long time, ever since my brother the king sent us away. Of course, the king had banished both his half-brother and half-sister. The real Senna died a long time ago. Oh, so she isn't even called Senna. Senna was a prince. Wow. Her tone was full of pain, as if she hadn't got over it in all those years. Ever since, I vowed to come back and take the throne and free this country from my tyrant brother. My journey back nearly took my life, but I'm here now and ready to serve Serendib. Ready to serve Serendib? She sounded completely unlike the king. She laughed again and looked at the three of them one by one. Is anybody going to speak to me? Sorry, Your Highness, said Neil. What should we call you? My name is Princess Leela. I know it's a lot to take in, she said. I didn't set out to deceive anyone. I took on my brother's name and identity for my own safety as we travelled, and many people here don't know that he's gone yet. They assume it's he who is back for the throne. Chaya nodded, as did she. Because we discussed, when we read the beginning in my class, we discussed how there seemed to be a little bit of like boys and girls aren't quite equal, because near the start, the bit I haven't read on Facebook, Chaya's auntie made some comments to Chaya about how she's still playing with the boys, whereas actually most girls by her age have left school and are just staying at home helping with the cooking and the cleaning. So obviously in this part of Sri Lanka area, there maybe is a little bit of maybe sexism towards women, which is another reason maybe why the princess decided to take on her brother's persona to travel, maybe. They assume it's he who is back for the throne. Chaya nodded, as did she. Chaya, is it? Said the princess. Is your father the arrested headman? Yes, he needs our help. All of our village does. I understand. I'm so sorry this has happened to you. I'll do everything I can to put things right. Thank you. We should act fast. The people are suffering. Leela nodded and turned to Neil. Can I ask you something, Neelan? I'm not judging you, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to. I'm just trying to understand this. Why did you steal the jewels? He didn't. Chaya stood very straight. I am the jewel thief. Leela didn't miss a beat. Same question to you then. Someone I know, a boy my age, got attacked by a crocodile and needed to have some specialist treatment with a medicine man in Gal. His family needed to urgently come up with the money or he'd have lost his leg completely. One of his brothers even works at the palace, but there was no help for them. I see. That doesn't seem fair, does it? Absorbed in her thoughts. Maybe just lost a connection then for a second. I see. That doesn't seem fair, does it? Leela seemed to be absorbed in her thoughts for a bit, before she looked at them again. We weren't ready for this so soon. We need to gather more supporters, consolidate our position further. But you're right, this is the best time to strike, and more importantly, this is the time the people need it most. The people of Narissa would listen to us, said Chaya. "We can get them on your side, and if you bring your people, we could take on the king together." "You're getting ahead of yourselves, children." Oh no, that's not the Queen, Mangala. "You're getting ahead of yourselves, children," said Mangala, speaking for the first time from his position at the back of the room. "It's not as easy as you think." "I agree with Mangala," said Leela. "I won't jeopardise the safety of my troops by leading them on a foolish errand. We have no idea if your villagers will be receptive to you after all that's happened." Chaya's heart sank. "Of course they will. They're our people." "We will do our best to convince them, Princess Leela," said Neil. "You can count on us." "I know I can," said Leela. "That's why I think you should go to your village and try to get your people to be on our side. But I'm not risking the lives of my army by taking them there when I don't know what your villagers' reaction would be. They might still side with the king." "That's right." Mangala nodded in approval. "The princess is right to cover all bases. Your safety is important, Leela. It'll be up to you kids to go and meet your people, of course." "Oh no, you've got that completely wrong, Mangala," said Leela. "I won't risk my troops marching in there. I'll be going to Nerissa with the children myself." Ooh. Okay, next chapter's really short. We'll have one more. She's brave. Chapter 36. Chaya's heart soared at Leela's words. "Leela, you can't be," began Mangala. The princess waved him away. "I insist. How can I get to know anything about the kingdom I'm going to lead if I'm shut up here?" Chaya grinned sideways at the others. She had so much admiration for this sister of the king who'd put herself in danger for the people. "So it's settled then," said Chaya. "We'll go in?" "We will," said Leela. "Our task is to meet your people and get them on side. We can take a couple of Gamage's men with us. My supporters, led by my own general, will amass in the jungle, close to Nerissa, ready to attack. As soon as we give the signal that all is ready, they'll come in. We need the villagers to be prepared and willing, with whatever weapons they have." Nawa had gone white, Leela noticed. "You have one task," said Leela, "and only one. All you need to do is help your people get on board and have them join us against the king. Without that, my people can't advance, and they won't advance. Because I need to think about everyone else I'm bringing in too." "Of course," said Chaya. "Once you've done that," Leela looked quite serious, "I need you three out of the way. I can't emphasise that enough. It'll make me very angry if you don't heed this." Chaya looked away. Go back to the village and hide like cowards while people fight for their lives? She didn't know about Neil and Nawa, but if Leela thought she was going to listen to that, she was very much mistaken. Ooh. Chaya's quite headstrong, isn't she? But Princess Leela's just made it really clear that it'll make her very angry if the children don't listen to her. I bet Neil and Nawa would. But Chaya's very headstrong, isn't she? Should we have one more chapter, seeing as it's Friday? We're going to have to wait till Monday otherwise. And then, I reckon, maximum 2 more after that and we'll be finished. Let's have one more. Chapter 37. The next day dawned dark and gloomy. The air was swollen with dampness and clouds hung low in the sky. "Do you think this could be the king's last day as king?" said Chaya, surveying the sky through the barred window. They were back at Gamage's hideout and would be joined by Leela to go to Nerissa. Nawa was looking pale and drawn. "I don't know how you're so calm." "We have each other," said Neil, "and Ananda. We're taking him, did you know that? Oh, good old Ananda's going with them. I hope he's going to be safe." Chaya turned back to the room. "It makes sense, I suppose. We're going to be walking the whole day. Once the village is dark and asleep, we'll sneak in." "Why does it have to be dark?" said Nawa. "The village is full of the king's men by day. Once they've left for the night, it's the best time to get in. If we're caught before we can speak to our people and explain things, that'll be terrible." Neil nodded thoughtfully. "We need to get to them before the king gets to us." Nawa drew her feet up and wrapped her arms around her legs, her feet peeping out from under her now clean skirt. "I wish I could be like you two. I'll be less than useless." "You'll be fine, said Chaya, looking through the window at one of the men coming towards their hut. We just need to be on our toes. The door swung inwards. Gamage wants you now, said the man, gesturing to them to come with him. I'm Ramiz. I'll be coming with you too. They followed him down the coconut husk-strewn path to the platform where all the bandits sat crowded around Gamage. They almost didn't recognise Leela when they saw her. She was dressed like a villager in a frayed blouse and shabby shirt that trailed the ground. Chaya watched the men closely. Did they realise that the future queen of Serendib was in their midst? Chaya, Neil and Now were huddled together with the three adults leading the way. Ananda walked beside them, a bag of supplies on his back. Gamage kept a respectful distance from Leela, nodding eagerly at whatever she said. He was obviously in on the secret. A whole day of walking, said Nawa. At least we're going back home. Gamage knows the jungle so well, we'll be there in no time. They continued as before, passing through all manner of jungle. Darkness was falling, and Ramiz took out a metal pitcher from the bag on Ananda's side and began to drum on it loudly. What is he doing? Said Nawa. Oh, it's just to warn animals that humans are about. Night was near, and birds twittered and cricket sounds pierced the air. Chaya began to think of tactics. Since father is in jail, there's no point going to my part of the village. And no point going to the city either. The rich people aren't going to join in the uprising. Neil nodded. We can meet lots of people quickly if we go round my way. They're the people who have suffered the most too. That made sense, going to Neil's part of the village. Clusters of little houses crowded between clumps of greenery. It was where the king's men went that very first time after Chaya stole the jewels, where she'd seen the men throw the contents of houses onto the ground outside. Ramiz had stopped his drumming, and they rustled quietly onwards. Leela and the men were waiting for them to catch up at the very edge of the jungle. Everyone bunched around in the near darkness. This is where we stop and wait. Leela spoke softly, even though they couldn't possibly be overheard by anyone here. We'll go in as soon as we're sure the king's men have retreated. The village probably will be asleep too. We'll leave Ananda here. It'll be quieter without him now. What about your army? Said Chaya. There's an ancient temple in the middle of the jungle where they're assembling. Once they have our signal, they can get here in 2 hours. The villagers have time to be ready and waiting then. Nawa was breathing hard next to Chaya. Even in the half-darkness, Chaya could see Neil's face was pale. She took both their hands in hers and squeezed. It's time. And that's where we're going to leave it today. It gets better every time we read this book, doesn't it? Every single chapter just gets more exciting than the last one. And we really are super close to the end now. Oh, Mrs. Hammond's on. Hi, Mrs. Hammond. And boys, if you're on. Mr. M's on. Hi, Mr. M. Oh, Grace is on. My sister's on. Hi. Oh, so exciting. A couple of things before I sign off. As of next week, I think I'm going to do this on YouTube instead of Facebook. We've set up a NJS YouTube account. I only did it this morning, so there's nothing on there yet, except a video of Albie, which is just a practice one. But I think it'll be easier because partly it's easier to upload videos onto, like, pre-recorded ones, but also I think more people will be able to watch it because there might be some people whose grown-ups don't have Facebook, so can't listen to this, whereas on YouTube it's really easy for everyone to listen to. But I'll put all the information about it on the website and on the Facebook page, so you'll see it. It'll be the same time, 5 o'clock on Monday, but on YouTube instead, I think. But just keep looking at the website and the emails and the Facebook page. And yes. Second thing for just my class, please keep spreading the word about our catch-up video call that we're going to do on Monday. If you think there's anyone that hasn't got that message, tell them to email me. Or if you've got the details, pass the details on to them so we can get as many of our class as possible in on that. I hope everybody has a really nice weekend. Oh, Mrs. Green's on as well. Hi, Mrs. Green. Have a lovely weekend and stay safe and keep positive, and I will see you on Monday at 5 on YouTube.